In this episode, we're bringing together two areas of interest that I am just fascinated by. That is celebrity and human design. I have always included talk about celebrities, famous people, and their careers in my work. And the reason is that we really learn a lot by watching other people, especially other people that are highly influential, artists, entertainers, people that we kind of have this parasocial relationship with. There's a shared understanding of what those people bring to the table. We may not know their hearts, we may not know their values, their beliefs, but we know their brand. And I believe that the entrepreneur's number one job is getting their work visible, getting their work seen. So studying other highly successful brands where they have been able to get their work seen by millions and millions of people is a useful pastime. It's really fun as well. So I can't wait to get into this episode. I hope that you enjoy it. We're going to be talking about 5 different celebrities and their 5 powerful auras. I hope that this illuminates something new for you and makes you see yourself potentially in a new way. Let's get into it. Five celebrities and 5 powerful auras. Today, I'm going to talk to you all about how human design can help you reveal your personal magnetism. I am so excited for this topic. It's going to be juicy. We're going to get into a lot of interesting things kind of related to these celebrities. But ultimately, what I want you to take away from this podcast today is how can you get inspired, get empowered to utilize your human design aura type for your own magnetism. This is especially going to be interesting for anyone who's ready to be more visible, dare I say, more famous in their line of work. So, whether this is through your career, maybe you're ready to go for that promotion, maybe you're changing careers. Or if you're a business owner, maybe it's time for you to really be the face of your brand and to be extremely confident in the way that you go about your business and marketing strategy. We're going to take some tips and tricks from watching some very, very popular, very influential, very talented celebrities and how they were able to utilize, even though they didn't know about human design potentially, they were able to utilize the power of their magnetic auras. So I can't wait to get into it. Okay, let's start. So we're going to do projectors first. For each aura type, there are 4 aura types and then 1 hybrid type, which is the manifesting generator. So we'll say 5 types in human design. For each aura type, I'm going to go through one celebrity. I'm going to introduce you to the celebrity in case you don't know who they are, but I tried to pick people that pretty much everyone knows who they are. And then I'm going to break it down and talk to you about how we can see their aura at work in their work and what it means for you. For anyone who's completely new to human design, you're like, what is this? Sounds interesting. I love pop culture celebrities, but like, what's human design? Human design is I would say, a sister system, you could say, to astrology. So it incorporates 4 ancient wisdom systems: astrology, the Hindu chakra system, the Chinese I Ching, and the Kabbalah tree of life. All 4 of those systems are combined into human design. When you look up your human design chart, and I encourage anyone listening to do that, I always say go to jovianarchive.com, Jovian archive.com. And just go to free chart. It's like right at the top. Get your chart, be looking at it as I'm talking, and just note what your energy type or aura type is. It is a system of personality and energy, and it helps us to understand how we naturally move in the world versus how we were trained to move in the world. There's a lot, when people come to human design, it's often quite eye-opening, mind-blowing, and life-changing because people finally feel like they're seen. They finally feel like, oh, now I can understand myself more. I thought I was crazy. Actually, this is this is now I see myself through a totally different lens and I can understand how I naturally move. And when you move how you naturally are designed to move in the world, things come to you more easily. There's less of a struggle. You're able to tap into your zone of genius more. Yes, Jovian Archive, that's correct. Shout out to my TikTok live folks. And you're able to really turn up that magnetism because there's less friction that you're bumping against. The friction of trying to be someone who, other people want you to be. The friction of trying to follow a strategy in life that isn't your own. The friction of trying to hide when you are actually here to be seen in your own power and grace. So that's a little bit of an introduction. When you get your chart, it's like a birth chart, but it looks nothing like a birth chart. So it's not the astrology circular chart, it's a body graph. There are 9 different centers which are aligned to the 7 primary chakras, and there's a lot of detail that goes into this. So today we're really only going to be focusing on like a very small part of, not small, it's obviously the most significant part that you learn when you first learn human design, but it's only a part of this massive, very nuanced system. So we're talking about type. This is your aura type, the way that you interact with other people. Okay, so with that introduction, let's get into it. Projectors. So our celebrity example for projectors today is, drum roll please, brrr, Taylor Swift. So for those of you who are familiar with human design, you could probably may have guessed that I was going to talk about Taylor Swift. Honestly, it was between her and Kris Jenner. I decided Taylor Swift because she's very much like she's in the public eye. We probably feel like we know quite a bit about her. And she is a 5-1 splenic manifester. So I want to talk about how this incredibly successful entertainer has utilized her projector aura in a very, very smart way, whether she knows it or not. I have no idea if Taylor knows human design, but it's really interesting to study this when you look at her career and her public persona. Obviously, we have these like parasocial relationships with these celebrities. We don't know them deep down. We're not in their inner circle. We're not in their circle of trust. But what we do see is their public persona. And when we're talking about work and marketing and owning a business, that's what we're talking about, right? We're talking about our public persona. We're talking about who we are to the masses, to the people who are not in our houses every day, right? Okay, so let's get into it. Now, to make sure that I get my facts right and I'm not misspeaking, I'm going to read you a little short bit about each celebrity before I get into it, just in case you're not familiar, but also so I get my facts right. All right. 14-time Grammy winner Taylor Swift is one of the biggest pop music stars in the world. Musician Taylor Swift began earning renown as a country singer at age 16 and has since become one of the biggest stars in pop music history. Early hits like Love Story and You Belong With Me appealed to country and pop fans alike and helped fuel the multi-platinum success of her albums, including the award-winning Fearless. Now a pop megastar with 14 Grammys, she's the first artist to win Album of the Year 4 times. Shake It Off, anti-hero singer, released her latest album, The Tortured Poets Department, in April of 2024 and concluded her record-breaking Eras tour in December. Personal experiences. Pay attention to some of these keywords here. Personal experiences, including her romantic relationships, continue to fuel Swift's songwriting. I'm enthralled by my relationships and I love the drama in them, but that's usually where it lives, Swift told Rolling Stone in 2009, maintaining, I'm not a dramatic person. I'm putting bunny ears because this is a quote. Hardly the first musician to utilize this practice, the pop star usually doesn't reveal who her song's subjects. Instead, her loyal fans obsess over Easter eggs in her lyrics and music videos to pinpoint a likely person. In 2009, when Swift won the MTV Video Music Awards, pay attention to this, Best Female Video for You Belong With Me, Kanye West led to the stage as the young singer gave her acceptance speech. Do we all remember this? He took the mic and famously declared, Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time. Do we remember this, right? This was a huge incident, like in the music world, in entertainment, and also has had lots of knock-on effects and has inspired both of them to make songs about this situation and to talk about it quite a bit. Something I think is really interesting, which we're going to come back to as we talk about projectors. She famously doesn't do interviews. Maybe early in her career, but these days, no. That is significant because a lot of artists or actors or entertainers, right, they will do interviews to promote whatever project they have coming out, whatever tour. It's an important part of the press. Taylor does not. Okay. This is strategic. She builds her own stage and performs on it. These are my words. She doesn't play the game the same way that other celebrities do. And this is interesting to note. And then I had a few kind of cool quotes from her that I found that I liked. The words you regret most are often the ones unsaid. And I bolded this one. She said, I'm intimidated by the fear of being average. Any projectors listening? Does this sound familiar? Another great quote I thought was very projector coded. I've learned when to get out. I've never wasted too much time with the wrong person, and that's one thing I'm proud of. Very projector coded. Okay, so that's a little background about who Taylor Swift is, what she's achieved, and a few interesting things about her career and some ups and downs that she's had. By the way, after I didn't go into all the lore, there's so much lore, but all the lore around the Kanye West outburst and how she basically went on to create this like album called Reputation, which is all about, kind of clapping back at all of the different things that people have said about her through her career. Now, of course, with any celebrity, it is absolutely normal for people to speculate about their personal life, about their career, about their values, about who they are as a person, their personality. But it seems extremely heightened with Taylor. Now, if you want to know more about the fifth line profile, because if you notice, I did say she's a 5'1", and there's this thing about the 5'1" about being put on a pedestal or burned at the stake, then go listen to my podcast about that. I think it's number 4 or 5. It's like early on in my podcast list about the fifth line. If you are a fifth line, definitely listen to that. But also being a projector, I want to point out that a huge part of being a projector is that people really, really care. Well, projectors, I should say, really care about their reputation. They really care about how they are perceived. They really care about, being someone who is appreciated for their work, for their insight, and for their wisdom. And this is nothing to be weird about, feel ashamed about, whatever. But like projectors absolutely have a different relationship with reputation, appreciation, and being seen to other aura types. When I work with my incredible projector clients, I know that this is going to come up a lot more than say with my generator clients. So with generator clients, more of what we're working on is around capability and confidence in your capability. That's really where more of the mind drama comes in. But for projectors, it's all about what do people think about me? It is, sorry, not sorry. That is it. Projectors worry a lot about what people think about them. And I wanted to talk about this and wanted to talk about Taylor because you can turn that into a strength. Like that doesn't have to be something that stops you or that keeps you stuck. This can absolutely be a strength. So I think that, Taylor has some really key messages through a lot of her work, but I believe that one of her predominant messages of her songs, is you define who you are. Don't let anyone else define who you are. I would love to hear her thoughts on that, but I think that that's really a huge message of her work, whether she's talking about love, whether she's talking about her reputation, whether she's talking about, whatever, people judging her for being romantic, people judging her for being emotional, people underestimating her in business, all these different things. And when she's, litigated even and been in the courtroom and been standing up for herself and her career in a lot of different cases that I didn't mention today, it's always about, I need to clear my name. Like, I need to be clear that my work is my work, and I need to clear my name, and I need to make sure that people know what the truth is about me, right? This is a driving force, like, of a lot of her creativity. And so, as a projector, my advice to you in business is not to try to not worry what people think, although there's an aspect of that that's really important for your health and well being, absolutely, but to also reclaim your voice. That's a huge part of it, is to get to the point where people can say whatever they're going to say about you and your work and your skill and your talent and whatever, but you are the one who defines you. You are the one who has to decide what your career is going to look like, what your image is, how you want to be remembered. Like you're the one who has to build the stage and perform on it yourself. No one else is going to give you permission, and you don't need permission from anyone else. So it's there's this resilience that I think Taylor has, which is really admirable. And I think that that's something that we can all learn something from, but especially projectors. You see this with the fact that she doesn't really do interviews. She's like, I don't need you to sell for me. I'm going to sell my work myself, right? And it kind of gives this air of mysteriousness, but also this magnetism of like, ooh, the only way we're going to hear about what's going on really is straight from Taylor, straight from the horse's mouth. You see what I'm saying? So tap into that as a projector. You have to be super visible. You have to claim your stage. No one's going to give it to you, and you don't need like the collaboration side of it is not it for you. It's not about who's collaborating with you. It's about you owning your voice unapologetically. That's super, super important. Um, I'll make a little quick note here. When we talk about, the skills of projectors, they're really good at pointing people towards a certain result, a certain outcome. When I was learning human design, I learned about the metaphor of the lighthouse, being a lighthouse that's pointing people towards like the promised land. As a projector in your work, think about that. What is the promised land that you're pointing people towards? For Taylor, a lot of it is like romance, right? Like soulmate connection, romance, but also just being in deep acceptance and self-love of yourself. That's the shore she's pointing to. So what's the shore that you're pointing to? You want to like repeat, 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 rinse and repeat that message constantly in your marketing. It's all about the result. What is the result that you're helping people to get? What is the result that you, as the lighthouse, are shining the light on? Super key. Okay, we could wax lyrical about this all day, but we've got four other types to get to. So let's get into it. Okay, let's do generators next. We're going to talk today about the generator aura. So the projector aura, I may not have mentioned the specific words, but the projector aura is penetrating and focused. It's pointing in a direction and seeing deeply into a certain topic. With generators, it's an open and welcoming aura. It's very different. It's much more about being just magnetic in who you are. It's not necessarily message driven. It's like, oh, it's like more experience driven. There's a feeling people want to feel in your presence, and they feel it when you are lit up. Amazing. No, we haven't talked about manifestors yet. And they feel it when you are lit up as a generator and when you are in your full passion and pleasure. It's all about being turned on, like in all ways. This is what the generator's got to do. You got to turn yourself on. That is how your magnetism works. Now, it's really interesting to look at the particular celebrity that I've chosen for the generator aura. I've chosen Walt Disney. Okay, so let's talk about Walt for a minute. Obviously, we know all about Walt's work. We know about Disneyland. We know about Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. We know about the Lion King. We know about all the Disney, empire that it is now. But it started with one man. So let me just share a few interesting facts about him. So Walt Disney is a 2-4 2-4 sacral generator. Torn between becoming an actor or a newspaper artist, by the way, he was born in Chicago, I believe, after returning from driving an ambulance for the Red Cross in France in World War I, he landed a job at an art studio creating ads for newspapers, magazines, and movie theaters. By 1920, after a failed attempt at creating his own commercial art company, he became interested in animation, a relatively new art form at the time, and decided to become an animator. He opened his own animation business in Kansas City, hired some employees, and convinced a popular local theater owner to screen his innovative cartoons. But he struggled with managing the money part of the business and had to declare bankruptcy. Pay attention to the ups and downs here. Undeterred, he moved to Hollywood, the movie capital of the world, where he and his brother Roy set up their own cartoon studio. They started with live action short animated films, but migrated their focus to the animated characters. Just when things were picking up momentum, he lost most of his staff and his rights to his main character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, and found himself on his own again. His big breakthrough, are you paying attention? His big breakthrough came in the form of a little mouse, dreamt up on a train journey back from New York after finding out that this, everything was going to hell, he was being kicked off the project for Universal, and no longer had rights to his character. He was determined to create his own rival character. So what did he do uh when difficulty struck? He leaned in harder. He went harder. He was like, "No, no, no, I'm not giving up. This is my passion. This is my project, and I am going to go even harder." Okay, this is very generator. This is very generator coded. After that, it was obviously very successful. We have Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie and all of this. He set his heart on adapting the Snow White fairy tale into an 83-minute musical animation full of spectacular color and sound. This is like crazy back then, okay? This is wild, never been done. The story was to be an enthralling tale of romance and triumph over evil, aspiring to make audiences not just laugh, but feel. Generator coded feel. Okay, it's all about feelings. Walt obsessed over every detail of the production, very generator, relentless in his pursuit of perfection and innovation. His animators were sent to life drawing classes. Props and sets were brought in to help them create a more authentic animation than ever seen before. Walt was hell bent on achieving full color animation despite the astronomical cost. He was also working on a new way to shoot with different cameras, blah, blah, never before seen. It wasn't cheap. In the late 1940s, he started sketching ideas for an amusement park where adults could enjoy themselves as much as children. So again, he's thinking about feelings. How can I cultivate this feeling in people, right? It's not just about, oh, what's a cool idea? What's different and innovative. It's also like there's this deep sense of like the feeling he wanted people to have about his work. Walt holds the record for the most Academy Award nominations and the most Oscars awarded, and he's also earned 4 honorary Oscars. Now, what's interesting about this as well, about the mouse, why did he pick a mouse? Evidently, it says the mouse was a natural choice. Walt loved them, often catching them in coffee tins and attempting to train them or feed them from his fingers. So, how do we unpack this? Okay. The generator aura is open and welcoming. The magnetism of the generator aura is all about that the passion and the pleasure that the generator is feeling that spills over onto the audience, and we just love it too. We feel lit up because that person feels lit up and turned on. So when Walt was lit up and turned on and he was like in his creative genius and he was like coming up with ideas and like doing things and diving deep and perfecting everything, that's when the magic really happened, right? And yes, he did have some difficulties in his family life behind the scenes. He had some really, I would say, terrible political views. Obviously, this is around like the whole thing about like rooting out communism in the United States and all of this. But if you just look at the work, I think you'll see a lot of the generator genius coming through. And I think it's really fascinating to study. So, generators, listen up. So, if you are a generator, you need to be doing the thing that you are passionate about. If you are not, if you are in a job or in a career where you are just you're putting all of that huge amount of energy that generators have, huge amount of creative energy. They're very creative. If you're putting all that energy towards someone else's dream and it's not something that you love, then it's a waste, right? And so, in order for you to continue to live your life in a way that feels satisfying, fulfilling, to get your work truly seen and appreciated, then you really absolutely have to focus on being in the state of passion and pleasure more often. So that's really, really key. Okay. The other aspect of the generator aura that is very different from the manifesting generator, which we're about to talk about in a moment, is that generators like to go deep. They like to become the best at what they do. They like to, it's called mastery. They like to achieve mastery in what they do. We see that very much in this kind of obsessiveness that Walt Disney had about what he did. And I think you can absolutely take the good and leave the rest from that, right? Like I'm not telling you to become obsessed in an unhealthy way with your work, but if you're not obsessed with your work, then you're not using your aura in the way it needs to be used to be the most magnetic. So I hope that this was interesting, right? And I love that the mouse, which was really the whole core of Disney in the beginning, really came from his personal interest and obsession with mice, right? It makes so much sense because that's what you got to lean into no matter how illogical it is, no matter how much it doesn't make sense, no matter how many ups and downs you have, you stick to it, you stay resilient, and you follow the pleasure and passion. Okay, let's talk about manifesting generators. So I just had a question on TikTok that I thought was actually a really useful one that would help you out. Hello, everyone. We are live podcasting. So someone said, where can I get an accurate human design test? Because I've gotten generator, manifester, and manifesting generator. Oh dear. So Jovian Archive is the one that I recommend. Yeah, this is the really good one. So Jovian, jovianarchive.com. I would go there and get your, and the thing is, you have to be super accurate about your birth time. If you get the town wrong, the city wrong, the state wrong, the time, AM, PM, you're going to get different results. So you have to be very, very careful about that. I've seen that happen before. Okay. So good questions. I'm not going to be able to answer a bunch of questions today because we are podcasting live, but I will keep this food for thought for other videos and other podcasts for sure. We'll dive deeper into some of this stuff. By the way, I have to make a plug. This episode is brought to you by The Design, the human design course, which I am running for the fifth time live starting on March 4th. I am so excited to be running this live. I plan for this to be the last time that I'm teaching this course live. It's going to be pre-recorded after that. But human design is such an incredible system. If you've been listening to this podcast so far, you understand how this stuff is very strategic. What I often say is that astrology can give us a lot of the what, and then human design gives us a lot of the how. How are you going to execute on your talent, your zone of genius? How are you meant to create content? How are you meant to reach your audience? How are you meant to build community? How are you meant to run your business behind the scenes? A lot of the how actually comes from understanding the ins and outs of your human design, not only type, which we're talking about today, but also about the structure of the body graph, definition. Where are you defined versus undefined in your human design? What about your 9 centers? What about your profile lines? Like we said, Taylor Swift is a 5-1. Walt Disney is a 2-4. Completely different strategies, completely different brands just from those profile lines. There's so much that we're going to cover and dive deeply into in this foundation course. And there's a certification option as well. So if you're interested in learning human design, don't miss this. Make sure that you join us when we start March 4th. It's going to be fantastic. Okay, so are we ready to go into manifesting generators? Let's do it. So, Rihanna, one name, one word, all we need to know. Okay, Rihanna, we're talking about Rihanna. She is our 2-4 emotional manifesting generator. So, same profile line as Walt Disney, different type. Completely different. Okay. You're going to see a massive difference in their careers and how they did things. So let's read a little bit about Rihanna. International pop star Rihanna released her first album in 2005 and is known for such #1 hits as Umbrella, SOS, Diamonds, and Work. Personally, I love Work. Oh my God. And I love Diamonds. Pop star Rihanna signed with Def Jam Records at age 16. Oh, similar to Taylor's 16. And in 2005 released her first album, Music of the Sun, which sold more than 2 million copies worldwide. She went on to release more albums and an array of hit songs, including, and there's like a long list, a global pop star with an unrelenting, edgy image. Rihanna has also won multiple industry accolades, including Grammys and MTV Awards. Branching out to screen work, she co-starred in a sci-fi flick, Battleship. Who saw that? I did. And later voiced the lead character in the animated blockbuster Home in 2015. In 2017, Rihanna made recurring appearances in season 5 of Bates Motel and earned a prominent role in the sci-fi flick Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. That year, fans also got their first glimpse of her alongside Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, and Anne Hathaway in trailers for Ocean's 8, a female-led spinoff of the popular Ocean's trilogy. So we have pop star, now we have movie star and TV star. Rihanna isn't just one of the most recognizable voices in music. She's also a powerhouse entrepreneur with ventures spanning beauty, fashion, and skincare. Rihanna has cemented herself as one of the most successful celebrity businesswomen in the world. Rihanna is the founder and CEO of Fenty Beauty, which launched in 2017 in partnership with the luxury conglomerate LVMH. The brand became a game changer. See all these like very manifesting generator coded terms: game changer, innovative, first, right? All these are very manifesting generator terms. The brand became a game changer in the beauty industry, celebrated for its inclusive range of foundation shades catering to all skin tones. In addition to Fenty Beauty, Rihanna co-owns the lingerie brand Savage by Fenty, launched in 2018. The brand has gained massive popularity for its body positive ethos and diverse size range. She also owns Fenty Skin, da 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 da. So there's a couple of quotes that I really love that are very manifesting generator coded from Rihanna. Here's one. When the world's turning left, it's when I'm going right. I need someone to let me just be who I am inside. So MG, okay? The MGs out there, are you hearing this? Are you vibing? Here's the second quote. I decided it was more important for me to be happy, and I wasn't going to let anyone's opinion get in the way of that. Even if it's a mistake, it's my mistake. Words to live by. Okay, so Rihanna is someone who is a first in many things. She has so many kind of like she's the first to be on the cover of a British black woman to be on the cover of British Vogue. She's the first black woman designer to have a brand with LVMH. She had a lot of firsts in her career, and I'm sure there are going to be a lot more to come. And it's exciting. And this is very manifesting generator because the manifesting generator aura is it's a very big, very potent, very like I would say, don't ignore me kind of aura. It is a hybrid of the manifester and the generator aura. You could say manifesting generators are kind of 80-20, like 80% generator, 20% manifester. So their aura technically is the same as the generator, but also there are some really key differences in how they work and how their magnetism is. So in the same way, pleasure and passion, just like we said with Walt Disney, is super important to MGs. So they need to be turned on. They need to be lit up by whatever they're doing. They need to be obsessed with it, but they're not obsessed in the same way that generators are. Generators like to go deep. They like to master what they do and become the best over time. With MGs, it's not necessarily about being the best, it's about having the best experience. So they want to go into different hobbies, different careers, different lines of business, and they want to learn and they want to get the experience and they want to enjoy themselves and they're going to have an amazing time and then they're done. And maybe if it's something they're truly passionate about for their entire life, they may stick to it. I'm going to have a little tea. But also maybe being in and immersed in that experience for a certain amount of months, weeks, years is enough. And they're ready to move on after that. So manifesting generators have to learn and have to trust themselves to know when it's time to go deeper and lean in and stay the course. And when it's time to GTFO, okay? So this is really, really key. Like manifesting generators, your magnetism is in being unconventional. You can't really be unconventional if you're doing the same thing day after day after day, year after year after year. That's just the truth. That's just how it is. If you're going to be the disruptor, the change maker, the unconventional, the innovative, the queen, king, royal that you are, you have to embrace moving on. And you have to embrace being the person who knows that you are the brand. It doesn't matter what you committed to over here and all this and this. Of course, honor your commitments when you make them, but make them short term. Don't make 10-year commitments over here because your energy may move on. And that's the magic. And that's the magic that is so magnetic for us. We want to be on this adventure with you. But if you're just going in a loop, doing the same thing again and again, where's the adventure? Okay. So I think we can learn a lot from Rihanna when it comes to being unconventional, trusting yourself, and pivoting. The power of the pivot is the power of the manifesting generator. Own it. Okay, let's move on to manifestors. So we've done projectors, generators, and manifesting generators. Now we're going to move on to manifestors. Oh, there was one little note. I'm just looking at my notes. So funny. I always write notes and then I don't look at them at all. But for manifesting generators, one little thing I have to share here is the title of her albums. I think, do I still have it open? Yeah, okay, her discography. It's just so MG. It's like, okay, Music of the Sun is kind of generic. A Girl Like Me, Good Girl Gone Bad, Rated R, Loud, Talk That Talk, Unapologetic, and Anti. I'm sure she has a human design reader. Okay, okay. I know she does. Now, we're moving on to manifestors. So, on the same theme of being a disruptor, we're going to go to the ultimate disruptors, okay? The ruler of disruptors, the manifestors. Are you ready? Hey! So excited. So, manifestors are only 8% of the population, by the way. So, most of the people, you go in the street, you're asking everyone their human design. Most of the people that you're going to bump into, like 60%, are going to be generators or MGs. Then you're going to have projectors, which are, I think, like 20%. On Jovian Archive, they have a whole statistics page. It's very cool. You can go and look at all the stats for all my Virgos out there that want to know, like, what are the stats of all this stuff? Go look at that. It's really cool. Manifestors, it's about 8-9% of the population, so much more rare. And then we're going to finish on reflectors, which are like, I think it's around 2% of the population now, 1.5 or something. So, manifestors, quite rare. We're going to talk today about Frida Kahlo. Does anyone know who Frida Kahlo is? I want to know. Let me know if you are familiar with her. She is very inspiring and rest in peace. She was an incredibly talented artiste. So go and look her up. I'm going to put a picture of her like on the cover of this in Substack and YouTube so you can see. She is just stunning and her work is so important and so impactful. So let me tell you a little bit about Frida. She is a manifester. She was a 5-1 emotional manifester, just FYI. Mexican artist Frida Kahlo is remembered for her self-portraits, pain and passion, and bold, vibrant colors. She is celebrated in Mexico for her attention to Mexican and indigenous culture, and by feminists for her depiction of the female experience and form. Kahlo, who suffered from polio as a child, nearly died in a bus accident as a teenager. She suffered multiple fractures to her spine, collarbone, and ribs, a shattered pelvis, broken foot, and dislocated shoulder. She began to focus heavily on painting while recovering in a body cast. In her lifetime, she had 30 operations. Widely known for her Marxist leanings, Frida, along with Marxism revolutionary Che Guevara, and a small band of contemporary figures, has become a countercultural symbol of the 20th century and created a legacy in art history that continues to inspire the imagination and mind. Born in 1907, dead at 47 years old, Frida Kahlo achieved celebrity even in her brief lifetime that extended far beyond Mexico's borders, although nothing like the cult status that would eventually make her the mother of the selfie, her indelible image recognizable everywhere. She's truly incredible. There's not enough time to talk about all the ways that she is amazing, and all of the ways that she really had an impact on art today. Like it said, she's the queen of the selfie. She drew a lot of self-portraits and really platformed, pain, the feminine body. What else do I have here? Yeah, depiction of the female experience and form. She challenged beauty norms. A lot of us are very familiar with her image because she didn't pluck her unibrow and she didn't shave her mustache. And so we're very familiar with this powerful picture of a beautiful woman that really defies a lot of beauty standards, right? So she's a manifester through and through. Everything about her is so manifester. Manifestors have a closed and repelling aura. And there's a lot of mechanics that we will talk about in my human design course, the design, about how that works and how to work with that, because it sounds weird. It's like, how can I be magnetic when I have a closed aura? Well, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you. But what I will say is that manifestors are here to disrupt. This is the main point. They're here to make change. They're here to disrupt. They're here to be the kind of point of the spear, the spark that lights the flame. They're not here to do all the detail execution work. That would be more generators or manifesting generators, who are here to, like, get into the weeds and do stuff. Really more generators, but manifestors are here to kind of lead the revolution. They're like, here's the idea, let's go do it. The people are behind me, let's make it happen. And so if you're a manifester in your content, in your business, think about, your business should be a disruptive one. So you should be coming into an industry disrupting something. And chances are you are, maybe you're just not emphasizing that in your marketing and your messaging, right? So emphasize that aspect of yourself. It's very, as we say, in Europe, it's like Marmite. Right. So manifestors are Marmite, but you want to use that to your advantage. You may get just as many like hate comments as love comments, but that's all good for you because you're getting the attention. Do you see what I mean? So manifestors really have to get comfortable with that. They have to be comfortable that their role in life is to make other people uncomfortable. Some people love that. They appreciate it. They understand it. They're like, yeah, like go off. And other people are like, no, I don't want to change. I don't want to think differently. I don't want to be uncomfortable. So you have to get more comfortable with that because that is your magnetism. It's incredible when it really is turned on and allowed to be. Okay, last but not least, because we've got to go soon, let's talk about reflectors. Oh my gosh, I have a fantastic example because reflectors are very rare, so it's really hard to find good celebrity examples of reflectors. By the way, people say Michael Jackson is a reflector. He is not, he's a projector. So just want to correct that. A lot of websites have that wrong. Okay, so it's really interesting. I chose today the celebrity to talk about with reflectors is Ama. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing this correctly, but her name, Amachi, comes from, means divine mother. So that's kind of what the name means, but most people refer to her as Amma or the hugging saint. So if you're not familiar with her, look her up. Really interesting. I have never met her personally, but I have a really close friend of mine that has met her several times in Kerala and also here in London and has been in her embrace multiple times and has told me really interesting stories about how it works, the dynamic, the vibes around her, the team, like the whole experience. And so I've kind of know a bit, even though I haven't actually experienced it myself. So I'd love to share something with you. So, okay. Mata Amritananda Maya is known throughout the world as Amma or the hugging saint. She was the third of nine children born to her parents. As a child, one of her chores was to gather food scraps from neighbors for her family's animals and began her education in understanding the intense poverty and suffering of others around her. She began taking food and clothing from her home to others. As her family was not wealthy, this did not go over well. Even with the reaction of her family, she continued on and added in embracing, hugging others to give comfort. She rejected all attempts at an arranged marriage, instead choosing a spiritual life of helping others. In 2015, she was the keynote speaker at the United Nations Academic Impact Conference, where she requested the scientific community to infuse its research with awareness and compassion, stressing the importance of keeping the aim of uplifting the poor and suffering in mind when undertaking technological research. She has touched numerous people in her life. She has embraced more than 33 million people so far in her life. She also teaches being present, live now, experience the highest truth of oneness with herself. There was, I did a lot of research and I read a lot of different biographies of online, like short articles. And there's always this mystical, magical aspect. There was one point where they were talking about her life and they said her family disowned her when she was very young. She was a child and she was made to live outside in the wild. But luckily, she made friends with all the animals who would bring her food and water and take care of her as she kind of lived in the wild. Um, there's something very magical about all this. I mean, who's to say what is true and what is a fantasy? But I think it's very it kind of goes along with sainthood, doesn't it? What is what's it's kind of mysterious, like what's true, what's not, what's miraculous, what's not. And I just feel that this is a great example of reflector energy. Reflectors are very rare, as I said, and they're often called like the oracles. She is a 6'2" reflector, by the way. They're often called like oracles, magicians, like they're highly intuitive, highly psychic. Their aura is open and sampling. So they have no defined centers in their chart, which is highly rare. So they are very sensitive to their surrounding and very open to the world, all the different dimensions and levels. And reflectors can be just as successful, productive, all the things as everyone else, but they're always going to do it in a bit of a magical way. And so, something that I would say for any reflectors listening is that you really need to embrace your magic and your sensitivity and see it as a strength, not a weakness. The world doesn't really celebrate sensitivity as a good thing, but it is so powerful because you're able to create a life, create a career, create a way of being that is completely different from the norm when you embrace what is different and unique about yourself. She is unapologetically magical. That's what I wrote down, Ama. It's like literally like, if you ask her like, so what do you do for a living? I hug people. Like what? It's so interesting, right? To study. And so I wish more reflectors would kind of reflect on this for themselves. How can you really embrace your magic in a completely unconventional, non 9 to 5 kind of way? The 9 to 5 is not built for reflectors at all. And so you got to think about, okay, how can I do the things I want to do in life, but make it me, make it my own? Often reflectors can be misunderstood as well, and they have to be very careful because of the openness and sensitivity. They have to be very careful of taking on personalities and traits of the people around them because of that. So curating your inner circle, being like really strong with the boundaries, really strong with how often, you work. Like interestingly, one of my friends was telling me about meeting Amma. It's like a whole production around how this happens. It's not just, rock up and give her a hug. There is a line. There are like stages. There are other healers there who can work and support people. She's not doing it all, right? There's, and when she starts, and when she's done, and everything is on her own timeline. So you just wait, right? There's no like schedule where you're promised to be done by a certain time and you're promised a certain slot. It's like all based on her and her energy, which it obviously has to be, right? And so Oh, thank you. We met our goal. So I wish that more reflectors would kind of look at this and follow this way of being. It's like, if I had an amazing team around me, if I could set all the rules for how my life and my work was going to be, what would that look like? Right? If I could just take this to the extreme, like how would I, people can wait on me. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to bend to other people's needs. I'm meeting my needs first. I'm making sure I'm okay. I'm making sure that I have the energy, the strength, the gifts to continue doing the work I want to do, right? And so I think this is just a really beautiful example of reflector magic at work. Yeah, so I wrote down in my notes very specific protocol, processes, huge teams of people facilitating everything. She's just there to do her thing, doesn't need to take on other people's jobs, right? She is purely in her genius, doing her thing, hugging people, and doing her magical work. Okay, that's it. Environment is key. Environment is key for reflectors. Okay, so I need to bring our podcast to a close now. I hope you enjoyed going through these. Let me summarize really quickly. We looked at projector Taylor Swift, 5-1 splenic projector, and how she uses that to be the lighthouse and point people in the right direction. We looked at generator Walt Disney, 2-4 sacral generator, and how he really dove into his obsession and passion and pleasure to become incredibly resilient and successful. Then we look at manifesting generator Rihanna. She's a 2-4 emotional manifesting generator, how she leans into being unconventional, being the first, and pivoting all the time in her career. We looked at Frida Kahlo, 5-1 emotional manifester, and how she was truly the disruptor and the person who was willing to say the uncomfortable thing, who was willing to be counterculture and truly be herself in her art. And we looked at Amma, the 6-2 reflector, who allows herself to be misunderstood. And is unapologetically magical and relies on an incredible team to facilitate that magic. I hope that you learned something really interesting about human design. Thank you so much for your time and wisdom. You are so welcome. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed this. This podcast is going to be posted very soon for those of you on TikTok. If you're listening to this on whatever platform, please give us a review, a comment, rate us 5 stars. I would love to hear what you think of these examples and which celebrities you would like me to look at next. And most of all, though, I hope that you recognize that you are the star, that you have this incredible aura working for you. You have these incredible gifts that you just need to know how to tap into to really unleash your own personal magnetism. If you want to learn more about how to do this, join us in the human design course or in my membership group, the Constellation Community. Make sure you're subscribed to this podcast and my Substack to get all of the goodies every week. And I will talk to you later. Have a beautiful rest of your week.